One conclusion I draw from last night was the president thinks we're all stupid.
You watch this guy, you believe in it again. In the middle of it, I really thought this is what it must have been like to listen to FDR in difficult times back in the 30s and 40s.
It spoke to my heart and certainly to me as an American.
Not a thing. Not a thing. It was just more of the same rhetoric.
It's interesting. He is post-racial, by all appearances. I forgot he was black tonight for an hour.
He was very real, and I appreciate that.
None of the things he said tonight have been fulfilled.
Everybody, I think, after listening to him, was rooting for him and for America. Very stirring speech.
I think a lot of the fact checkers tonight are going to be quite busy as they run down the content of that speech.
You have to give him credit for taking on a daunting task and getting a lot accomplished in 1 year.
He reads the speeches, he does something else, and then he goes back to the same rhetoric.
Anybody who's really paying attention to the policy, it sounds a lot like more of the same, and you can't have it both ways. You can't just blame Bush for all the last 8 years and all the problems we're facing today. And I'm not saying that Bush is not responsible for a lot of what we're facing today, but you have to have policy that represents a real fundamental change, and Obama didn't have any of that to offer.
He said we've created, 2 million new jobs. Well, we have, maybe, but unemployment is higher than it was a year ago.
What the federal government has done is nothing but shore up the bankrupt state governments. They didn't create any jobs. What they did was they saved government jobs.
It's a difficult task to be hopeful with all the challenges that remain in this country.
And lying about everything and going, oh, no, this is my fault, and then yelling at judges. It reminded me of last Thursday. When I had my court date for public drunkenness. It was on Thursday.
And the one thing I saw from him was concreteness, and I was happy about that.
So you wanted immediate action and concrete proposals.
Yeah, and I think he delivered on that.
I think the first thing is that he treated us like adults. He said there's a lot of problems and we need to face up to them.
One thing that he said that I love was he said saying no to say no is not leadership. Wow. Which I liked, but I thought he did a great job. I thought if you were against him, you were still going to be against him.
I felt that he was talking to the Republicans and some of the Democrats when he said, come on, you got to meet me halfway here. We got a lot of problems.
I think he really needs to start over again and start by talking with the people on the other side of the aisle.
He kept reaching out, at least rhetorically, and I think he actually means it. He kept reaching out and he kept getting, until we got to offshore oil drilling, a pretty hostile response.
It was just non-stop appeal to bipartisanship. Dude, get over it. The Republicans, I hate to break it to you, Obama, they're just not that into you.
Associate Justice Samuel Alito shook his head and mouthed the words, "That's not true," or just "not true," a clear break with protocol.
President Obama gave the annual State of the Union address, which is also known as the put a bunch of white people to sleep speech. It's the State of the Union eyelid stickers. You just stick them right on your eyelids, and no one ever knows you're asleep.
The president's partial freeze announced tonight on discretionary spending is a laudable step, but a small one.
He mentioned we have $1 trillion deficit, and then he mentioned we've identified $20 billion in spending cuts. Well, that's like you owe $1 million to the bank so you don't buy a big screen TV.
Me. I think Karl Rove said it was 96 times where he used it, 18 times.
I know George Bush never said I or me.
But the whole section on terrorism was about him.